The Holy Roller, issue number 1. That's right, folks. This latest book from Rick Remender actually has a couple other names attached to it, and we'll get into that a little bit too because there's something to explore here. Okay. So Rick Remender, legendary comic book writer and creator, has made some great stuff, even some stuff that has been developed into television shows like Deadly Class. Well, if you take this book and you read like the final note page where it's just like a couple of paragraphs from Remender talking about the process, it sounds like he was hired by a unnamed studio that may or may not still be around to work with a couple of creators like Andy Samberg and Joe Trohman to create a concept they could turn into an IP somewhere. And the paragraph is kind of just like, yeah, we were on cocaine and it was stupid and everything was crazy and we hated it, but we gave them the dumbest thing they could imagine, and that was pretty sick. But that didn't go through yet. We'll talk about that in a minute here too. But instead we got Image Comics producing Holy Roller. I don't know how much of this is factual, just because you just know Remender's having fun here. But this book is also co-created by Andy Samberg, a name I'm sure this audience knows pretty well, a guy that is popular, and Joe Trohman, who is from Fall Out Boy. Not My Chemical Romance. It's not a My Chemical Romance guy doing comic books now. We have a Fall Out Boy guy. And it's not the two you're thinking of. It's one of the other ones. Okay. I mean, yeah. Sure. Samberg doing comic books, I'm a little hesitant because I'm like, you're a name, you can get stuff made. Coming here does feel like you pitched this to be a show, mainly because the lead character almost looks exactly like Samberg, but we'll get into that in a moment. Whatever. Fine. It's just really nice to know that anybody can get their comic book made, like one of the biggest stars to ever appear on SNL and one of the guys from the most popular alternative music bands of the past couple of decades. And Rick Remender, three names that are good at getting stuff made. So this book opens up, it's Cloville, Ohio in 1986. We're watching as David Cohen is about to make the ultimate play in a bowling tournament. He has to make a 7-10 split. He does. He wins the grand prize. He wants to celebrate with his wife and son, but his son Levi is off playing video games at the arcade. Remember, it's the 80s and it's cool. And then there's this cool popular girl named Amy who's impressed with him getting the high score on Paperboy, and they're just kind of flirty. And then her dick older brother shows up named Clyde, and he's like, "What are you doing talking to this piece of shit? My dad owns this place. You're such a loser." He kind of beats up the kid. It's cliche, but what makes it fun is the artwork being so fluid and colorful, and it just looks really interesting, and every character looks unique. And he just kind of picks on Levi for a bit, and Levi just hears his dad is the championship of the bowling team. He won the big prize, and this makes Clyde and his friends pick on him more "I can't believe your dad loves bowling so much. He's so excited for $500. What a loser." You're like, "Ugh, you're such a loser." And, Levi wants to fight Clyde, but he's like, "What's the point?" So he kind of walks away. But Clyde, because his dad owns the place, is like, "If you step foot in here again, I'm going to kill you because you're a fucking loser, Cut to the present day. We're in northern Japan. Clyde is on a ship for Greenpeace. I do want to point out that this book is a satire. It's satirical. It's funny. It's making fun of itself. I suppose that's what we're doing here. And, Clyde's just chilling. He gets hit in the head with a stick by another one of the hippies. So he tries doing the stick thing where you balance sticks on other sticks. And he does it pretty good. And he accidentally, I say in air quotes, knocks off one of the sticks for the guy because he's too cool for that. He's above it all. So he's called into the captain's quarters where the captain just wants to lay it down to him. He's like, "Dude, I love you like a son. I don't care if you smoke in my office, you hippie son of a bitch. I have to say this, you don't apply yourself. I know who you are. I understand exactly what you're capable of. You're some fancy, son of a rich person. Your dad was too, off in his own world to realize your mom was cheating and something was off about your life, and whoop-de-doo, you came here looking for purpose to, get one over on the old man." And he's like, "Yeah, you nailed it, boss." So funny. But that's when we realize the captain got a call from his father, and he's very sick, so he wants Levi to go back home and talk to his father to get his head back on straight instead of just being like an asshole stuck on this place. So cool. Now you'll notice a couple of things as we kind of get further into this book. One thing I noticed is Levi as an adult is drawn in a way that has a lot of Samberg in it, which I think makes sense. I also think it's just kind of like the style that the artist uses. Everyone's got these very exaggerated features and looks like very distinctive people. But when we see that he goes back home and his like town is run down, it's the cliche, like the kid's been gone so far, he can't come home again. It's like everything's so like, you know, what's the word here? Terrible is what I'm going to, but it's like Nazi adjacent, where it's like the town has kind of become like, you know, white supremacy America, and you're like, that's fucked up. But he goes home, he finds his dad, and his dad shows up looking a lot like Judd Hirsch. He's like, my boy, it's good to see you. It's been too long. Come here, let's hug and we'll get it out. Time is of the essence. And they just try to relax, and it's just kind of his dad being like, come on, you have to bowl some more. Bowling's in your heritage. Not even bringing up that he's sick. And Levi's like, Dad, I don't want that. That was never for me. I'm not embarrassed by it. I just don't care about it. Like, come on, son. You've seen the state of the world out there. This town's going to shit. You know? So they're going to tear down the bowling alley, son. They're going to tear down the bowling alley. They're going to, you know, they're going to pave paradise to put up a parking lot. You know? Come on, son. There's something about that. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And it's so stupid. And I know it's satire. It's just like, yeah, fine, sure. A lot of words, a lot of pages going on here. The town's broken, old, and run down and becoming like white supremacy city. It's whatever. So he's like just walking out. He heads to the old bowling alley after just telling his dad, like, I don't want any part of this. I'm glad you're okay, Dad, but I can't be here. Walks into the bowling alley. He's like, hey, this place is pretty fine. And then one of these like guys at the bar just like opens his phone. He's like, yeah, man, he's here, man. And as Levi like leaves the bar, it's like later at night now. He's like surrounded by a bunch of cars because Clyde is a white supremacist who hates Jewish people now. Because this is also a book about anti-Semitism, like controlling this town. And a man who looks a lot like Judd Hirsch is now being like picked on because he liked bowling so much. So they beat up Levi. And that is when Levi takes the bowling ball that his father gave him as a reminder of who he is, and he beats the shit out of these neo-Nazis, and literally is gonna like, I think he kills like at least one. He kills at least a few of them, and it's really weird. And I don't know if I like it. You know, like it's so obvious but stupid. Like on paper, like this guy uses a bowling ball to kill people, and he's a vigilante. That's fun. Doing like he's a kid of the 80s who grew up to like the video games more than like the actual thing when bowling was kind of at its heyday, to like the dad who's afraid that the Nazis are going to kill him and he can never be safe in his town. They're tearing down the one thing that he loves because a neo-Nazi kind of runs the place still. It's very weird and you're not expecting it. But this guy's also like a peace-loving hippie who smokes and wears like a bandana all the time. And you're just like, what? There's so many things going on in here. And it's a little too like the wrong type of satirical, where it's like, yeah, there's a little, nobody's a real character, and even the characters that feel like they should be real characters, like Levi and his father, they don't feel like real characters. Everyone's got like a, you know, like a comment to make, and they've got like a funny thing to say, and it's fine. I actually don't hate anything about this book. I do like what they're going for here. There is a story to tell, and that's kind of cool. Like, it's an interesting concept that I think is handled fine. I just wonder if this is something I want to read, you know, monthly, or if it's just like, yeah, this might have just been like a silly, you know, like low budget comedy movie to make for a direct streaming service that like maybe finds its audience on a DVD release. But when it's a comic book, I don't know if like the cachet of having Samberg's name on it is going to do anything to make it more successful until it gets adapted into the movie. It's ultimately going to be, Samberg's a nerdy guy. I'd imagine he's been thinking about this for a while, but if it's strictly just the comic book, that is also cool. Like, the artwork is sharp. It's just not that, like, unique when I think it's trying to be unique, and you just kind of, like, get sick of the characters really quick. And I think you can just move on from it pretty quick. Like, I'm not going to be thinking about this that much. I'll bring it up to people like, did you know Andy Samberg wrote a comic book with one of the guys from Fallout Boy? You know, like, that's what it's going to be. But, okay, a bowling ball vigilante. That's something to talk about. He defends, you know, Jewish people in his hometown, and he fucks up the Nazis. So that's fun. So the Holy Roller issue number 1, I am going to give a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.